Here, straight out of Kyber. Representing the casual obsession out here, you feel me? Listen. So I've been chilling out in Ebby. I just washed up on a ship. On the beach, some fool called Jeets is talking crazy. He's a trip. Thought I'd go hit the inn and grab some ale. Just kick it. Next I know Salimus is yelling, "Smite the wicked!" So this is how it goes round here. They want me fighting with no fear. Handing me a sword. Will I survive? It's not clear. Cause now they got me running down a crypt so hating rests. These traps can slap scary, get back, but hey, where's the crest? I'm grabbing scrolls, doing puzzles, and even killing rats. And spiders from the floor, yo, can't y'all get some cats? I'm guarding crystals from cultists, you know my weapons, they smoking. This Drexel hand is evoking, suspicion spells are being spoken. This is my adventure, it's my journey. All my trainers out here got me learning. With some gold I paid a friend called Byron. Monsters come around here, that boy Wylin in Korthos. Yo man, who really runs this place around here anyway? Mayor? What? Coin lords? Huh. I guess if they're paying, I'm playing, you feel me? Shoot. Yo, just a meathead out here. Straight out. Hey, welcome to the DDO stream. This is Fixer Upper with Griglock, and tonight I have a special guest with me, Viamel from Lava Divers, playing on the Argonistan server. Viamel, how you doing tonight?
Very well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, thanks for joining. So this last week, we got a request for a melee build, and I've actually been stealing melee ideas from VML for about 5 or 6 years now. And I instantly thought of him. I said, man, we got to get VML on here to talk through, especially a niche melee build. But before we hop into that, just wanted to take a quick moment, let everybody in chat know. One, thanks for watching. If you like the stream, you like what we do here on Fixer Upper, you can actually catch more of my streams on twitch.tv/the DDO Experience. Look forward to seeing you guys there as well. So, VML, tell me a little bit about why you love Melee so much.
Um, so as an Australian, I play with 250 ping, and I love to suffer. So being as close to the enemy as possible is fun. Means I have to be predictive instead of being reactive, and I find that actually quite enjoyable. Um, Also, I think Melee has some of the coolest animations and is one of the most interactive styles in the game. Um, there's, especially right now, like Melee's in one of the best spots it's ever been in the game. After the changes to Razor Claw and Dragonlord, I think is one of the best new release classes in the game. Uh, yeah, Melee's in a really good spot, and Melee's always been really fun. So it's really cool to see what we have to do, and I'm really excited actually today for this build that we've got to look at.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining and being willing to go over that with us. By the way, if there's any other mods out there, I don't currently have access to update the stream title. The stream title still says it's Good Morning Coffee and Chat with Voodoo. So if you showed up and you were hoping for the Voodoo stream, I apologize, but that is not what's happening at the moment.
It is the morning for me, and I am having my coffee.
You are having coffee, so I guess it's partially true. So I'm gonna try to figure that out as we go here. But if there is another mod out there and you know how to update that, help me out. So this build idea actually came from the forums. Let me pull that up. And what they were requesting was a mixed melee build. They had a handful of past lives. They do have some stat tomes and not a whole lot in terms of the universal upgrade tomes, not a lot of racial past lives. So this isn't a first life build, but this isn't a build with everything either.
I honestly think that that's more representative of where players are at anyway. Like, there's not that many people who are spinning a first lifer these days. Surely, like most people have got a couple past lives, I think.
Yeah, and I think it gives a realistic picture of how you can expect a melee to perform. So I know there's a lot of talk on the forums how, you need all the past lives in order to get into high level Reapers or high level Reaper raids. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually, it was right before PAX East, our guild successfully pushed R10 Strahd, finally, right?
Hell yeah.
Um, but we had at least 5 or 6 people in that run who had under 15 past lives.
Yeah. What a lot
So
of people don't know is that Epic, who's one of my guildies, has completed multiple R10 world first raids with an artificer that has had less than 50 Reaper points.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. So before we actually hop into the build, a little more shameless promotion. A new T-shirt company did launch a couple weeks ago. It's called Cloth Armor Company, Cloth Armor Co. You can actually reach the website here, and I'm going to post it in chat as well. These are shirts for people who like to play. They're available in all sizes, all kinds of different colors. So if you're looking for some new gamer themed t-shirts, if you can check that out and show them some love. Alright, so let me go ahead and pull up the builder. Let's hop into the actual build itself. And I don't know where you want to start. Why don't we start here? Where do you typically start when you're planning out a melee build?
So these days I mostly start on like because we're not working towards any world first raid completions. I mostly start with just sort of like what haven't I played in a while, what seems kind of fun, what am I vibing? That's the first thing. So we get a little bit of flavor going, right? Um, this guy who's requested this build, he had actually a really, really good class split. So normally, once I sort of know what I'm vibing, I'll go, okay, well, I want this major class, like I want to play Dragonlord. So we've got mostly Dragonlord levels here. And now I'll sort of go, well, is 20 Dragonlord giving me more than if I splash some stuff? Um, and then you start thinking about like what you're gonna put into it. Uh, he wanted a Shadar-kai build. One Rogue is a fantastic splash. I think it's a classic. Uh, and then 3 Monk is one of the best like low class splashes we can do on a melee if we don't care too much about getting lit up by spells, and you shouldn't care too much about it. There's a thing called spell absorption, and you should have spell absorption. um, yeah, and 16 Dragonlord is one of the better breakpoints.
Why do you feel that is? Because I know a lot of people were excited for the capstone when Dragonlord first came out.
Yeah, the capstone's awesome, and if you haven't played with the capstone, you should. It has a very cool animation.
Yeah, the first time I saw that animation, I was highly amused. I just wanted to do nothing but see that for like the next half hour. It was pretty cool. The hands that come out. And...
Yeah, I was really disappointed. So Dire Charge has a Sunder effect, and that Sunder effect does not flag those enemies for the insta kill, and that was deeply disappointing to me because the insta kill is a cleave ability, so it would work.
Yeah, same, same. So,
I wanted blue hands. I wanted like 10 blue hands at once.
so given how much you are a fan of the capstone ability, why would you want to split? Why would you not want to go for that?
Right, so there's a few reasons. The capstone doesn't really add heaps of DPS, so there's that. We do lose a little bit of. I need to pull up Dragonlord here so I can look at it. So we lose a bit of melee power. We lose 20 melee power here. Because we're also losing the level 18 core, right? And we're losing 2 imbue dice. So those are not good things to lose. We can pick up a little bit of the melee power back from our monk levels by putting some points in to Shintao. Is it Shintao? I might mean Henshin. I think I mean Henshin. Also, this is how I build, is by thinking I know what things are and then referencing material. It's Henshin that I'm talking about. And so Henshin has imbued ice and melee power, so we'd be able to recover 6 melee power potentially. Sorry, I'm getting stuck
I
in the
was
weeds before we get going.
I was gonna say I'm looking at it right now, and you actually don't have anything in Henshin
Yeah,
in the
okay.
build that we
I
have
want
so
to talk
far.
about that in a minute. I've set this up this way on purpose. We'll get there.
Okay, all right. I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So why is 16 levels of a fight of Dragonlord a breakpoint, right? That's the question. And the question is pretty much answered by a feat called Tactical Supremacy, which I actually don't know if I took, but it is the reason that we would do it. Is it Tactical Supremacy?
You took master, but you may have meant.
I don't know. I did mean to take both, and then we just take it at level 24, or actually 30. Nimble Fingers is overrated. Yeah, there we go. Tactical Supremacy. Bam.
All right.
Take it level
So
30.
so we're kind of jumping around. Let's start all the way back at the beginning. So
Okay.
we went Shadar-kai because the request was for Shadar-kai, and we have the split of 1731 because that was also part of the request, right? Or 1631 rather.
1631.
Yeah.
It was part of the request. I would, um, if I thought that that was a bad build decision, would have ignored that and just gone, okay, well, this is the flavor of what this person's looking for. Let's move on in terms of build design. But for one thing, they asked for a 2-weapon fighting build. At the time, I didn't realize that they had tomes. So I said, well, we're not going to do 2-weapon fighting because 2-weapon fighting is really bad if you don't have dex tomes. If you need to put any stat points into dex and you're not already going to be dex based, it's really stat intensive, and so single weapon fighting behaves better. And also, this is a Shadar-kai build, so single weapon fighting behaves. It's a little bit more fun.
Right, because to qualify for single weapon fighting, you just need to put the points into balance, whereas you need to get your dex score up above 15 pretty early on to really maximize two weapon fighting early, right?
You need it to be able to hit 17, and so that's a real problem if you're not playing a dex build. It you know it it's I usually put I have +8 tomes on all my builds, and I think they've got +8 tomes in the builder, but I was treating it like they weren't there. Um, you need to get, so I usually put 13 decks in. You need to be able to get above 17 decks, and so you need to know when that's all coming in terms of your level order. Single weapon fighting doesn't have those requirements. Also, it does good damage, and um, if you're playing Shadar-kai, it makes your chains go faster, and that's why I was like, okay, well that seals the deal. Let's do single weapon fighting.
Okay, so walk me through your stat choices here.
What were my stat choices on this
So
one?
so we chose Shadar-kai because that was what the person requested. If you weren't going Shadar-kai, what would you do?
Design a different build from the ground up.
Okay. All right. So given that Shadar-kai was the choice, I noticed you're maxing strength, you're maxing con, you
Yeah, so Dragonlord's a strength class, right? You get a strength trance, so let's get our strength up. We're monk, so we can't rage, so that instantly locks us out of using the charisma trance. Well, it doesn't lock us out of it. It's just that the reason that you would choose between the charisma trance and the strength trance is whether or not you're going to rage. We can't rage. We're monk. We're going to use monk stuff. So let's use the strength trance. Very simple.
yeah.
At which point, why would we be anything but strength based? Then you'll notice that I've got some points in int. That's for skill points. We've got a rogue level. Let's be capable of using our rogue level. You know,
Great.
which is mostly for skill points. Is just why I've got the int there.
Okay, perfect. And then looking at um looking at your tomes, we did a +8 universal, and you're putting every level up into strength. You mentioned you have two options for the trance. One is the strength option, one's the charisma. And just in case anybody out there is listening and doesn't know what a trance is, your trance adds half of your stat modifier to your damage, and it also gives you a boost to the DCs of your tactical feats. Um, and I think it boosts attack as well. So I know a lot of people were questioning why not just go, PDK and say use a Maul and go Charisma instead. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a different build for one thing. Um, Shadar-kai is truly one of the best solo play races because you get the AoE from chains. Two-handed fighting is pretty slow, so if you can make a single weapon fighting build that has enough AoE, that's gonna put you in better shape on bosses a lot of the time, not always. If you're really good at two-handed fighting, you can like triple stack your drens by timing them with your Unbridled Fury whole thing, and then you can rock up to a boss, deal all its HP in a handful of seconds. In those scenarios, if you're really good at your rotations and you can nail your big drens, two-handed fighting is amazing, but otherwise on bosses it's pretty lackluster. Single weapon fighting is pretty great. It's pretty fast. Nice mix of between two weapon fighting and two-handed.
Yeah, I was really hoping that with the with the new Dragon Lord class that there would be so much synergy with the tactical feats that Dreadnought and some of its abilities, especially like you were saying with Dire Charge. If Dire Charge procced the capstone, there'd be a good reason to not take a Dren necessarily. How do you feel about a Dren? And I know we're going to get into the Destiny, so maybe I should save this question. I'll table it. But the question
Just
will
look at it.
be just keep it in the back of your mind. It'll come up later. Why
Let's just talk about it. Like there's no rush here.
why go a Dren versus like I know Fate Singer has pretty nice epic strike. Grandmaster of Flowers has an amazing epic strike since they updated the damage on it. Um, so do you feel like a Dren is still king in terms of epic strikes for melees? Why or why not?
Well, okay, so I usually take two epic strikes on most builds. We probably won't do it today because we don't have a lot of ED points to play with. Um, you're so let's compare Adrenaline to some. Let's compare Adrenaline to Drifting Lotus because we might use Drifting Lotus on this build. I think it might be quite good. Um, it's a a decision. It's mostly a decision point. So Adrenaline's gonna do the most damage. You pair it with something like Fast and Furious, which is the one that you get in Fury, or if your class has some equivalently big damage button. So you pair your Adren, and it does a lot of single target damage. If you're doing R10s, being able to one-shot a Reaper is a really big deal. It's just there was a huge problem, and now it's gone. So it's a really big deal. But it's a different decision point than, oh, there's a big pack of mobs. I'm gonna Drifting Lotus so that they're all CC'd, and now I can whip my chains and do my cleaves, and they're gonna vanish. Right, so it's just a different decision point.
Okay. And I guess we'll look at some more of the epic strikes when we get there. Adrenaline was also always nice because of the knockdown effect. I know when I was playing your wolf build, um, I really had a great time being able to select certain mobs to just completely take out of the fight.
Yeah.
And I will say with Dragonlord, I just started playing Dragonlord because we were pushing Strahd before, and now that I've had a chance to play around with that in Reaper, just the ability to constantly CC an entire pack of mobs. I'm playing a Dwarven Axe build with a lot of strike throw,
Yeah.
so essentially I can just immobilize entire packs for an entire fight.
Yeah. Um, and that's kind of why I like Dragonlord so much. think lower life characters, obviously you've got a fairly max tune, but like lower life characters really benefit from Dragonlord. You get so many tactical DCs, and that was always the big problem, is that pumping your tactical DCs up enough without losing a whole bunch was kind of difficult, because really the way that proper endgame players are getting their tactical DCs high enough is that they're scaling their trance. So they're using swaps and making sure that they're snapshotting the highest stat value possible when they press their trance button. And Dragonlord is getting a bunch of tactical DCs in the enhancement tree, and it's getting a bunch of tactical DCs from the feats, which you get free from Fighter. So it's going to let us do all that locking down really simply and really efficiently. I, on live currently, am playing a really, really vanilla, pure Dragonlord, and I use Dire Charge all the time. But I haven't used Dire Charge in years, but I'm using it now because my tactical DCs are like 150. And so it's quite easy to just keep things locked down, and even like Archend Vecna it's pretty fine.
Yeah, I have been using Dire Charge with the current build. I really wanted Axon Board to be a thing, but it didn't work out, so I ended up switching to single weapon fighting with the two-handed fighting for all the strike through, and it's nice. I think next I want to try something more with two weapon fighting, and those new long swords are really really appealing to run something with just for the fun of the extra crit range.
Which longswords?
The fried fish and frozen fish, which give you the two set bonuses. It adds on a 19 or 20, it's +1 to the crit multiplier.
It's so fun. I don't think I've seen those. Are those from the Fred's first day
Yeah,
back?
yeah, brand new content. Um, and I can't remember the name of the update release, but yeah,
The slice of life.
Slice of Life. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I pulled up the Sword Sings, the melee attack, which is 50% damage boost, +4 critical threat range. It deals 2d10 sonic damage per character level that scales 200% with melee power. And on crits, the targets become stunned, no save. So, I mean, I'm thinking of using that with a two-weapon fighting build next. I mean, it looks like it has good potential.
Yeah. So let's be clear. Sword Swings goes crazy. It's got to force this. So, okay, so like on paper, it's worse than Adrenaline in terms of damage, in terms of pressing the button,
Mhm.
right? And
But it's
Adren can be prepped, so you walk around. When you finish with a pack of mobs, you hit Adren again. Like you just want it on cooldown.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the Sword Sings. Its cooldown is 4 seconds. That's
Yeah, that's the
crazy.
thing, right? So this is 4 seconds. It also, yeah, it's a crazy good ability, especially on two-weapon fighting. I think it might offhand. I'm not actually sure. I would have to test it. It's a very good ability.
All right, so I think we should actually go back to the build and try
Yeah,
to
let's
try
have
to
a
get
look.
through a little bit of it. A couple comments from chat. One of the classes I love is Alchemist. Says Raynor PL game. Raynor's on that past life game. Yeah, I like Alchemist too. Yeah, Damos Megan says Voodoo shaved and is 30 years younger. Thank you for assuming I am 30 years younger than Voodoo. I get that all the time, but no. We're probably pretty close in age, I'd guess. But unfortunately, I'm new to the DDO stream, and I don't either know how to or don't have the mod privileges to update the stream title yet. So, again, if you tuned in hoping for Voodoo, the Rage Beard, and a morning cup of coffee, my apologies. Instead, you get VMO and Griglock talking about melee builds. Alara says, quick question. Is it better for a new player to level to 32 or Heroic Reincarnate? Alara, I think that depends on how much you're enjoying the build you're playing and what group of folks you're playing with. So, if you're not in a guild, I'd recommend that you try to find a guild of folks who play at your pace. and there's a lot of great community discords out there. There's the unofficial DDO Discord, and there's a lot of server-specific discords. But being a part of a group of gamers can really help enhance your experience in DDO. A lot of folks will tell you that past lives are everything. I'd actually recommend running some Reapers at cap before you TR. Get some Reaper points, it'll make your leveling process a lot better. Alright, so back to the build here. We went over Shadar-kai, we went over the level split, talked about the stats. We want to make the most of that rogue level. So let's kind of dive into the order in which you took the class levels. How much does that matter? And if it does matter, why'd you start with rogue?
Okay, so I mean, I started with Rogue because we're Shadar-kai. I don't want to presume that people want to spend a +1 heart on their build.
It's a good point.
We've got Monk here early up. You could do it either way. We're playing an iconic here, so we're leveling to 15. So you'll notice that we have like everything that we really need is sorted before level 15. So that was the main thing. We got so we will have greater single weapon fighting. We've got our improved crit profile. We've got master of forms, all that stuff, and we got spring attack. So you should be able to move really fast because you're going to have 3 leaps with spring attack, dragon's wings, and shadow jaunt. And you're going to have monk levels for an extra 5% move speed. So you should be really zipping along, and make no mistake, run speed is a DPS stat. Yeah, that's basically the level order. You'll notice that I've gone Path of Inevitable Dominion, or Dark Monk, as it's called. If you want to, and this isn't really necessary because I was planning on putting cookeries on this build, if you want to, the monk combo Fire, Dark, Fire gives you an auto crit. But it's really worth investigating the rest of the monk combos because they're really good. And so you can, like, you don't have to play with these, especially on a build like this. It's going to have a lot of stuff, and unless you're playing on a relatively high level, you're not going to, like, you're going to move through content too quickly. But Earth, Earth, Earth gives you crit multi, so that one's really good to do. That is, what have you got here? This is,
Yeah, so I actually pulled up all the
yeah,
monk
okay, cool.
finishers,
Yeah, I'm looking
so
at
you'd
that
have
now.
them for reference. So
Yeah,
you mentioned you went dark instead of light. So I think there's 2 main differences, right? So light is healing, if you go light, 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 and dark is actually going to reduce fort by 25%, which I think is also nice for the touch of despair. But then the other combo finishers, on the light side, they're buffs for your party, and on the
yeah,
dark side, they're actually debuffs for the enemies.
yeah. Earth Dark Earth is a cool ability if you need to leave something alone for a little while, but you need it to not die, because they'll just run around nauseated for a little while. It's pretty good. Um, Water, Dark Water, that's just an extra CC button if you can be bothered. But the ones I mostly use are Fire, Dark Fire, Earth, Dark Earth, and Earth, Earth, Earth. That's what I was using when I was playing Pure Monk, and you can use these for the 3 monk splash, and they're really fun.
Yeah, because Fire Dark Fire is an auto crit, right?
Yeah, it's a guaranteed crit, which when you're using hand wraps, you really need. Uh, um, but even, we're gonna have a 15 to 20 times 4 crit profile here. Actually, no, I think we might be 14 to 20. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy crit profile. Um,
And just in case anybody's interested in the build, if we don't get to cover the entire build during the stream today, because we have about an hour left, it is going to be posted to the forums and VML. I'll make sure I tag you as well. That way you can respond to any questions about the build choices.
yeah, sure.
All right. So with that rogue level, you decided to go single weapon fighting, and I know we talked at a high level about the different combat styles. Why do you like single weapon fighting? You mentioned earlier you like it better than two weapon fighting if you don't have the stat tomes because of the dex requirement. But what else is really good about single weapon fighting in that entire line?
Your attack speed percentage increases your speed. So inherently, this build is using chains. Chains have their speed increased by your attack speed, and you're also using rapid slash, which also has its attack speed increased by your attack speed. So, which is a really good change they made a little while ago. So between chains and rapid slash, that's how you're going to pull packs down. That's your AoE, and you want those numbers going in as fast as possible so that you can move on with your life. Um, so 30% attack speed off the bat, that's a really good way to start it. um, yeah, I don't know that there's much more to it than that.
Okay. And all right, so big item of controversy among veteran players: power attack versus precision. For those of you who don't know, if you take the power attack feat, you deal extra damage, but you give up a little bit of your attack bonus for that. Precision, you actually bypass some of the enemy's fortification. So
Yeah.
I
The
noticed
other
you
thing
took
that
power.
precision does
Go
that's
ahead.
important is that precision gives you one less grazing hit on your dice roll. Um, it says it's a 5% to hit increase. That's not actually how precision works. Precision takes your dice roll. If you're grazing on a 4 or below, and then you put precision on, now you're going to graze on a 3 or below. So it just changes one of those dice rolls for you. That's a really good to hit increase in certain content, but frankly, we're getting attack. We're getting an attack bonus from our trance. We're going to have mega high strength. We don't need it to hit. And power attack also gets a bit of upgrades in the Ravager tree, which we get access to from Dragonlord. So it's very synergistic. Then we just want extra damage.
So we don't have stances selected yet, and we don't have anything really rocking out in this builder yet. So we're gonna get to this, but right now your fort bypass is 8. Obviously, we want to target 70 plus, right? So that way we're actually hitting crits at endgame.
Yeah, I mean, I usually walk around at like 60, but we're gonna use, we're Dragonlord. We're gonna use Sunder. Sunder is 25, right? Also, we're gonna use the
hmm
Dreadbringer set, um, the Dreadbringer filigree set because it's amazing.
So mobility, dodge, mobility, spring attack. Tell me a little bit about that and why you like that line.
Very simple. Run speed is a DPS stat. Spring attack lets you move faster. If you're hitting the mob, you're doing damage. And in questing, I'm not thinking about my damage in terms of. I'm not thinking about my DPS in terms of when I'm hitting a mob, how much DPS I'm doing. I'm thinking about my DPS in terms of how much damage per second am I doing across the whole quest. So like I'm dividing the time of the quest by the damage, if that makes sense. Not like I'm not doing this as hard math, right? But like it's a pretty simple logic that I think follows. If you're going to the mob faster, you're hitting it sooner, it's dead sooner, you're going to the next mob faster. Pretty simple. Also, spring attack is an amazing escape. So if you're doing R10s and you find yourself surrounded by enemies, you can just run away. And running away is good.
So, looking at the monk forms, I noticed that you stopped at master of forms. Is that just because you ran out of feats?
No, we could swap one of the other feats for Grandmaster. The reason I stopped at Master Forms is because my plan on a strength-based build was to use the strength stance. Master Forms gets us our crit on 19 to 20. Grandmaster of Forms gets us one more strength. So I'm just comparing greater weapon specialization in this case, which I've taken at level 27, I'm comparing that to 1 more strength and going, I would rather have 2 more flat damage and 2 more melee power. It's a pretty simple comparison.
Yeah. One feat that I bet a lot of people out there are not taking right now is improved feint. Tell me a little bit about that. Why do you like that?
It's the Bomb Diggity. It makes you hit faster, and it makes things vulnerable to sneak attack. So, Improve Feint's cool. The big one is, like, I solo a lot. Like, I do a lot of solos R10, and I die a lot, by the way. When I say I do solos in R10, I mean I die a lot and then reset the quest and then do it again until I get a perfect run, and then I can show all the boys how cool I am.
By the way,
Um,
really
sorry, go
quick, thank you so much, Nacho, for updating the title. We no longer show as Voodoo, so I did give a shout out to Nacho. If you do not follow her stream, she actually recently started with Kaleva. They relaunched a new DDO stream. You should definitely check that out. I believe that airs on Saturdays as well. So Nacho, again, thank you for fixing the stream title. Um, Looking at the different weapon feats that you took, so improved critical, that increases your threat range. Um, are you always going to take that, or do you ever skip it if you're planning on having a weapon with keen on it at cap? Tell me a little bit about that.
So there's something to that question, but yeah, I always take it on a melee build because it's a prereq to overwhelm and critical, which you always want on a melee build. Or on any DPS build, you want improved critical. Sorry, overwhelm and critical.
Which is going to give you an extra +1 to your crit multiplier.
Right. So we're always taking it. The reason it's sort of an interesting question is because sometimes, as you say, if we're using a weapon that has keen on it at cap, I'm not necessarily let's say I'm using a longsword that has keen on it. I'm not necessarily taking improved crit slashing. I might take improved crit, improved crit bludgeoning, or piercing, or whatever, so that if I, for whatever reason, am using a different weapon, then that doesn't suck. So actually, on this build, it might be really good to take improved crit piercing, because sometimes on this build, you might want to use the Gold Curse dagger for some additional CC on your chains, in which case we need to make our daggers have a better crit profile. And then we could use Labyrinthine Edge, which is a really good kukri, as our like main boss beater, main pack deleter. But that already has keen on it, so why do we have improved cut slashing?
Great. Change made. So we'll get to the chain attack in just a second, but what VML is referring to there is one of the Shadar-kai abilities for the chain attacks. Before we move away from heroic feats, talk to me a little bit about the Dragonlord feat you went with.
Um, Look, I haven't looked too intently at the Dragonlord feats.
I mean, these are pretty obvious, right? So it's a
That's the
tactics
thing that,
build. You're
yeah,
gonna,
I mean, so like click on this so that people can see, because the other options are a bit doo-doo.
I mean,
Um,
saving throws I could see. Attack rolls, not on a fighter build. You're not. Your base attack
I
bonus
would
is
take
good,
attack
and
rolls if I was planning to do a challenge raid with my team and someone else already had the tactics one, because these are auras, like the paladin auras, so these do affect everybody. That is
okay.
the only reason I would take attack rolls or the saving throws. Otherwise, if you like, the plan here is this person said they do a bit of solo play, and I like building for solo play. I think it's fun. Um, so let's benefit our own build first. That's tactics. We need to do tactics, and then
Builds
it's
that
going to
are
be the same.
awesome at soloing perform well in groups as well, generally. So,
Yeah, yeah, they'll perform fine in groups. You can optimize more for having a group if you have like a static group that you play with all the time, and you've got a DC Sorc. Why are you bringing or a DC Sorc being like doing mass holds and insta kills and that kind of thing? Like, why are you bringing the CC? You might as well bring more AOE damage, right? But or more single target damage. Um,
So the next option we had to choose from was either +3 to your flat damage, +3 to PRR, or +3 to MRR. And again, building for damage, building assuming nobody else is there, you'd rather kill the mob. You'd get more out of the 3 flat than out of the 3 PRR in defense.
Yeah, that's correct. Also, none of these are the base value. The Dragonlord enhancement cores increase the strength of these. So, um, like, they're more than they're showing here. Thank you, Koi Heart. Ying is a king, and I love him very much. He's one of my guildies. And yes, he's right.
Oh, Card said, as Ying said on the forums, if you aren't doing Traxata for tactical, Vela for damage, and Truthful One for melee power, you don't understand the game. Alright, so yeah, so those actually end up, it's +1 per core, except for this first one doesn't look like it gives that, right? So you'd actually have, or is it every other one here? Nope, the bonus of your Dragon Orders is increased by 1, so it'll actually be a +6 flat damage for you, which is very nice.
Yeah, it's huge.
And then the last one is melee power. The other choices there were ranged power, it's not a range build, or universal spell power. Okay, so the other feats that might stand out, most people may not take, are these weapon focus feats, weapon specialization feats. Talk to me about those.
Um, each of them gives you 2 melee power. So we love melee power. It makes us do more damage. More damage, good. The red ones give us flat damage as well. So we're getting +4 flat damage. We love flat damage. Flat damage, generally speaking, is better than melee power, and we love melee power. And the reason I say it's better is that it's harder to come by flat damage. We can get pretty reasonably into like the 350s with melee power or higher. We can't do that with flat damage. It's a multiplying scale, so the lower number, bringing the lower number up is always gonna give us the bigger number. Does that make sense?
I think bigger numbers, things die faster, makes you feel good, makes sense to me.
In the wise words of my guildie knife palm, bigger number, better person.
Bigger number, better person. Oh man. All right, so crush weakness. Talk to me about that. Damage versus helpless.
Right, so we've got Dragon's Roar. So before we even think about including other crowd control, which we probably will do, we're already definitely making things helpless. So
I think Dragon's Roar is probably the best CC in the entire game.
I love it so much. I think it's one of the best abilities in the game. I also don't think
Hands
it's
down.
overpowered. I actually don't
Yeah.
think it's overpowered because
You
you're a
don't think
fighter.
it's overpowered.
No, because you're a fighter. Like, unless they make trip and stunning blow cleaves, um, you don't really have great AoE crowd control as a fighter. And Dragonlord takes away the Kensai tree, which is a really punchy DPS tree. So Kensai is more DPS than Dragonlord, like hands down. Like it's a much, much punchier DPS tree. But Dragonlord plays better in R10s because of Dragon's Roar. And it gives melees the capacity to really frontline properly in high Reaper content. And that's what you're meant to do as a melee, is you're meant to run into the pack. You're meant to be the guy who goes in first. Like that's what a fighter is. I think that Dragonlord has given fighter its pen and paper identity back. And I really, really love that. And I use Trip now, I use Sunder. I was never using those before. They sucked, but now I've got a Trip DC of like 130 on my main, and it works, and it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that Dragon Roar works on pretty much everything except for red names is amazing. And by everything, I mean it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a construct, it works. If it's undead, it works. If it's
I like the logic of it too, because if I was a construct, I would be terrified of a dragon screaming at me, and I would stop.
So you're gonna make a lot of stuff helpless in the Dragonlord tree. A lot of your abilities actually knock enemies down add that helpless state, so boosting your helpless damage is huge. Nimble Fingers, you had mentioned you might want to swap this out earlier on.
Yeah, so the only reason that we keep Nimble Fingers is if we're taking the tier 1 ability in Shadow Dancer, but I wanted to put it in the build so that we could talk about it. You get a sneak attack dice from Shadow Dancer if you have the Nimble Fingers feat. You can only take Nimble Fingers if you have trap making. So Artificer, Dark Hunter, or Rogue can do this. I think it's cool. This is a cool little ability.
All right, so remind me of this if you want to swap it for the version that we put on the forums at the end, and we can swap that out once we're through. Well, if we get through enhancements, destinies, and gear in the next 45 minutes, I'll be really impressed with both of us. But
Yeah, that's not happening.
Scion of Arborea, tell me a little bit about that. It's the melee one, right? Because you get the 20 melee power.
Yeah, so the other options here are, oh, actually a really good other option if you open that up is Scion of the Astral Plane.
Because you will be centered, so you're going to get 8 double strike and plus 8 to your tactical feats, right?
You're gonna get 4 dodge cap and 4 dodge.
Are you wearing medium, or were you going to go heavy?
We're centered, sir. We're gonna wear
Oh,
cloth.
you're going to wear cloth, yeah, because you're centered.
So Scion of the Astral Plane is really good. It's gonna give us a bunch of extra double strike. We're gonna have trouble capping our double strike on this build because we don't have what do you call it? We don't have we don't have past lives. We don't have double strike past lives, so getting 8 double strike from a feat, that's huge. I also actually don't know if I took double strike, the Epic Destiny feat. Oh, I did. I can see it. Okay. Yeah, so Scion of the Astral Plane, and the other one that people talk about is Scion of the Ethereal Plane, which is just right below it.
Because you get the
Uh,
6 sneak dice, a little bit of melee power. And if
yeah,
you're not running Reaper, it's worth noting if you're just running, elite or even hard content, the displacement would make a difference.
displacement makes a difference anyway, but we already have displacement because we're getting it from Dragonlord, because Dragonlord is the best.
All right, and then I'm gonna move on. A little note on ledge toughness. So obviously you're going for extra hit points there, and we don't have gear yet, so ignore this hit point total. But why do you like that instead of other options? So some other
I
great
hate it.
option. What's that?
I hate it.
You do good. Because I was wondering why it was here. Um, so
We're
what
gonna
do
be squishy. We're gonna be squishy.
you want to be able to survive a hit, right? So
You need to be able to take minimum 1 hit.
at a certain point, the hit points matter more because you're gonna get hit, right?
You're going to get hit. We need to be able to take at least 1 hit. Weirdly, the exceptions begin to bear out once you start playing Rocket Tag in R10 rating. Like an R10 boss is just going to one-shot you no matter what, so unless you're a tank, at which point do more damage because your job is to be a DPS. But for this, you're going to get hit. GFOPA, who requested the build, they said that they do R1 and that they would like to do slightly higher Reaper content if possible. In which case, they're definitely going to get hit, and it would be a more fun gaming experience if they don't die every time that happens.
Yep.
And ideally, if they can take a few hits and not die every time that happens.
So some honorable mentions. Just give me 2. If you weren't gonna take ledge toughness for the hit points, what are the top 2 feats you would swap out there?
Okay, feats that I love are Harbinger of Chaos. It's just lovely. It gives you 2 double strike and 2 imbue dice. And we've got so we wouldn't get the 2 imbue dice because we're taking monk levels. So you always get the double strike with Harbinger of Chaos. If you're chaotic, you get 2 imbue dice. That's conditional. I really like that one. If you were doing a full imbue build, you might take Embodiment of Law because we're, like I said, lawful, so we get to imbue dice is nice. Other than that, there's not a lot I'm taking here. If we're playing a different build, I would take different feats, but those are the good ones right here. Elusive Target is not bad, actually. Underrated feat.
Yeah, I love
And
it. It's basically a 5% dodge, but it operates outside of your dodge,
yeah,
so it's nice.
it goes off all the time too. It feels better than 5% for sure.
I actually, controversial opinion, but if you jump a lot and you're encountering a lot of archers, I notice a decent difference with wind through the trees. So depends on your feet setup, but all right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I desperately want to cover as much ground as we can. So let's change up how we're doing this. I'm gonna bring up the enhancements and just kind of highlight the major things that you picked, and then walk me through what you want to select for your remaining 15 points here.
Sure. Cool. So let's start with Dragonlord because it's got the most points spent in it. Okay, so the points that I spent here in the enhancement tree overall is what I would call a minimum spend. So these are the abilities that we have to take for this build to function, right? So Dragonlord, if we go straight up to the top, is actually where things matter. So it's the tier 5s in Dragonlord is what's dictating our minimum spend. We want the movement speed from the wings. That's the first one you mouse over, so I'm talking about it. We want the competence HP, like we need it. What's the next one along? I need to be able to look at this. Reducing the cooldowns of our tactics is amazing. So we're taking Tactical Commander. We want improved Dragon's Roar. That's more helpless damage every time we Dragon's Roar. That's amazing. So all the tier 5s in Dragon's Lord are good. And obviously the last one, ×2 crit multi, amazing. So we're taking all of that. That's 6 AP. It's minimum 30 spent to get to tier 5. So our minimum spend in Dragonlord is 36. That's how we do that. We go, okay, I need all these things. They're too good to not have. So that's that tree.
Real quick before we move out of the Dragonlord tree, and you can explain more of this if you guys want to check out this build. It'll be posted on the forums. You can ask VML more questions there. Yeah, quite hard. I can turn VML up a little bit. I noticed you didn't take lead the charge. Why is that?
Because I hate it. It's buggy and it doesn't give me crowd control. And I think that they changed this in a recent patch, but it was also putting the dragon's wings on cooldown, so that's like made my brain go, yeah, we're not taking this. But it is even if that's changed, it's not giving me anything I need. I've already got Shadow Jaunt, Spring Attack, Dragon's Flight. Like, we don't need it.
Great. Walk me through your Vistani spend.
Okay, our little tier 3 ability there is the cornerstone of our Vistani points. And we're going to spend probably the rest of our points in Vistani as well, or at least a very good chunk of them. Deadly Blades. We have 3 monk levels. Either we get rid of the 3 monk levels, or we take Deadly Blades. Those are the only 2 options for this build. Deadly Blades, it makes you centered with kukris and daggers, and it gives you a weapon dice, which is nice, but we're doing it for the centering with the weapon. So that's the minimum spend there. In Vistani, right above Deadly Blades is 20 melee power while single weapon fighting. We will be taking that, and we're also going to take the core from. We're also going to take the 4th core from Vistani because we don't get crit range while with Dragonlord. And as I said before, probably going to use the Gold Curse dagger sometimes, so we want the crit range from BKF.
All right, so you need some additional point spend to get there.
So we haven't actually done our minimum spend here, but like I sort of went minimum spend for the build to function. for VKF. Whereas I took a bit of the gravy in Dragonlord because I like it.
Do you want to finish fleshing out Vistani, or do you want to go over
Yeah, sure.
Shadar-kai first?
Let's flesh it out. Let's take the flat damage there on the far left.
Okay.
Um,
How far do you want me
and
to take that?
don't take the first one, and then take the second two.
The reason he has me not taking the first one is it doesn't include the damage. It's only +1 to hit, whereas the second and the third one are each including damage as well.
It does include the damage, so the first one does include the damage.
It does not. It does not.
Okay, it
Oh
says
no, it
that
does. It does. You're right.
the
Somehow
reason that
skipped
I
that.
have you not doing that is because when you use a dagger, it inverts the dagger, and the inverted dagger animations is slower, so it's
Oh,
less damage.
oh, you don't like the style. For some reason, I had it in my head that that also dropped damage, but
So it's
maybe it
really
was
good
because of
value.
the style.
It's really good value, and if you're two weapon fighting, for some reason it doesn't seem to invert cookeries. So play around with that. I can't remember, and I haven't played a cookery build for a little bit, so it can be really good value, but just be aware that the inverted daggers are slower. They literally attack slower, unless that's been changed kind of recently. So I don't take it.
I'm gonna assume that you want another strength point.
Yeah, strength is good because it's our trance, so it's double synergy. Also, single weapon fighting gets extra scaling.
And then you need one more point. Do you want to take?
Let's take the silly number 1 thing. Just be okay with it. That tier 1. It's fine. I'll just be sad. Great. We take that guy. We take out 20 melee power. And we're here, so we should take out 5 double strike.
Okay. So we still have 4 points. Do you want to pause there and look at the other trees? Or do you think
Um,
everything's going into Vistani?
no. So we definitely look at the other trees. We put 1 point into Ravager minimum.
Why are you putting a point there?
Every time you miss, you do more damage. That stacks up to 6. That's a 6 flat damage on bosses. It's brilliant. You attack really fast, so that's going to stack up really fast.
Okay.
Also in Ravager is extra action boosts and more damage on your power attack. We might take those, but for now we're going to look at Shintao. Sorry, not Shintao, Henshin. I keep doing that. So in the Dragonlord tree, I've taken an arbitrary dragon color. The color you pick is now going to matter because we're going to take in Henshin one of the elemental vulnerabilities, and this is going to help out boss damage. Yeah, it's that guy. So let's say that you take, it doesn't matter. Say you take Porous. Porous is good, actually. Porous is one of the better ones. Porous is being one of the better ones because most people undone have the acid dot. It's the most common. So
You're breaking up a little bit, V.
that might have been my voice.
Yeah, you're back
What
now.
did we miss? Okay, so the Porous Soul one is good because most people using Dino Weapons have an acid proc. So we're scaling most people's damage. Most people aren't using Red Dragon Armor anymore, so fire is less on the table. But you would pick these situationally. If I'm planning to push 2 hot skulls, I'm going to increase cold damage.
Okay, so situationally, depending on what content you're running or pushing, would dictate which of these you wanted to stack based on the party's damage.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a really, we're going to spend very few points in here, so less points spent in a tree means it's cheaper to reset every time. So that's not too bad.
That
Cool.
leaves
How many
us with
points do we have?
1 point.
Yeah, cool. I would probably take an action boost, but you can leave this point unspent and people can make their own decisions. You can take 1 flat damage from power attack, or you can take an extra action boost. I like an extra action boost.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about Shadar-kai. What's the most important thing to highlight in that racial tree?
Greater chains. It's the tier 4. you can see consistently here, I've gone like, what's the expensive thing that I really, really want from the tree? And then I'm building out from there in terms of what's giving me most value. So further down from greater trains, we also have 2 sneak attack dice. In our cores, we also have the Shadow Jaunt ability, which is a dash that makes you phase through things, which is really good. Shadar-kai's got a really nice tree. If you like playing rogues, Shadar-kai is the best rogue class race. I personally have a deep love for Deep Gnome into Assassin, but that's because I like playing the game like a moron. I don't think it's good. I just like it. Shadar-kai is
Awesome.
the best, that's for sure.
All right. Well, there's a lot more there, and I know we could go on about enhancements for another half hour, but
Look at the EDs.
I'm gonna cut it off there real quick. I forgot to mention it earlier, but actually, the shirt that I'm wearing right now is one of the Cloth Armor Co. shirts. This is a lawful evil shirt because my wife insists that, despite my protest that I am lawful good, that I am in fact lawful evil. So, uh, first shirt again, it's clotharmorco.com, and appreciate any support there. All right, so let me pull up the destinies. Did you do any destiny? Yeah, it looks like you did fill out some of the
Did
destinies here.
I? No, I didn't do the destinies here. What I did was that when I made this file, I may have edited a Dex Rogue file. Um, so these are the wrong destinies, and you should reset them.
All right, so what destinies do we want to be in?
That's a really, really good question. So we're single weapon fighting, which lowers the value of using tier 5 Dreadnought. It's not it's not bad, but Dreadnought is best on 2-weapon fighters because Rally hits with your offhand as well. So Rally is more impactful. We still might go tier 5 here. Like I still really like Legendary Dreadnought. It's going to give us a bunch of tactics. It's going to let us use a bunch of cool stuff. But I actually think that the zestiest, most fun, flavor-forward version of this build, which I have decided is going to be the name of the game, is we go Grandmaster. I think Grandmaster is going to be the most fun.
All right, so we got Grandmaster, LD, and what for the third destiny?
Probably we'll be looking at Shadow Dancer, but we might go Fate Singer.
All right, so you did mention at the beginning of the stream here that you were drinking coffee, so go ahead and take a moment, take a big sip, because we're going to get through these destinies in the next 7 minutes, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Let's go.
All right. Give me Fate Singer then instead of Shadow Dancer. I can do it faster. And I'll get you to drag Grandmaster of Flowers across to the far left. All right. And let me bring this up for myself. So for Grandmaster, we take the Mantle, because the Mantle means that we run faster, and running faster is more DPS as established. Yep. Then we take as many points into the Stunning DCs as we can, because the Stunning DCs are good. Then we take Hail of Blows, because Hail of Blows is good. We take the increased damage on Dance of Flowers, and we take the helpless damage called Serene Mercy. This is the whole Mantle line. So we've just completely fill out the Mantle line. It's really, really good. Also going to take the fire stance increase. This is 6 flat damage because we're going to be using fire stance, and we like flat damage. You with me so far?
I'm keeping up. Keep going.
Amazing. What's my minimum spend now?
You're at
16.
16 right now, but we
So we want
haven't
to
we
take,
haven't taken the cores. We want the cores,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So we take the cores. We're going to take the adamantine weapons, and we're going to take good weapons. Adamantine is really annoying if you're not bypassing. It's one of the most annoying things to not bypass. Silver is not so bad. You can usually bypass silver, a lot of silver damage reduction by bypassing good.
Takes you to 18.
Cool. We don't need that guy. We want Drifting Lotus. Drifting Lotus is amazing. And then we want to take these. That's
How many tiers in
many-
drifting do you want?
max it out. Max it out.
All
And
right,
then
so that gets you to your capstone in the next tier.
beautiful. Okay, so give me that. We're going to take the light philosophy one because we just take whichever one we're not taking in our feats. And then we're going to take the stunning. We're going to take the stunning effect on Grandmaster. We're going to take in tier 4. We want the Seeker, so Chaos Absorption and Seeker, and then we're going to take the Sneak Attack damage as well as Evil Absorption and Sneak Attack damage. And we're just taking that one up to 30 points. I don't take the Fort Bypass, so unspend that. Cool.
All right, I'm with you. We have the top tier
We're going to take
unlocked.
We're going to take the crit damage increase, which is the second one across. We're going to take Everything is Nothing. We're going to take Split the Soul, and we're going to leave the Double Strike alone for now, and we're going to consider that part of the minimum spend. However, 3 out of 3 in there is really good because it gives you a Daze effect that works on Reapers. We're going to go down to Legendary Dreadnought. In Legendary Dreadnought, we take the Tactics, and we take the increased stat on Action Boost. We only take that one up to times... we only take 2 of those, but or sorry, actually, it might just be 1 right now. So we're just doing a minimum spend here. Then we're going to go for our extra action boosts in tier 2. Always take the cores just as they appear. That's fine. Take the extra action boost. We take our imbue dice. What are we at? We're at 9. So we take 1 more stat.
No, we're at 10.
Oh,
We're at 10.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. We take the double strike. We max out the double strike in tier 3. We move across to Fate Singer. We're going to take the sword swings. Let me bring Fate Singer up for myself. Cool. We take the sword swings. We take harmonic resonance, and that should bring us up to 5. We're going to take the full threat reduction. We do not want to be pulling threat in raids. It's really annoying.
All right, I'm going to pause there for just 1 second, and I want to highlight that if you are a melee on here, my personal opinion is you are not actually fulfilling your role as a melee in raids unless you have threat reduction for the tank.
Oh, threat reduction means getting to 100. If you get to 100, you can crit as big as you like. You could crit for 20 million, which I know seems insane, but like some dudes be critting. You could be critting for that much, and on the threat registry, if you have 100% threat reduction, that checks in as 0. If you have 90%, that checks in as, Jesus Christ, I don't want to do math, but 10% of 20 million. Right? So the boss is, as far as the boss is concerned, you just did 2 million damage to it. You're going to pull aggro. So 90% is nowhere near as good as 100%. Get to 100%, right?
There's a couple augments for treachery. Each of them is a 50% reduction. You can put one in your weapon,
you want
one
dark
in your
diversion,
artifact.
you want treachery. And then this plus is 30. That's going to get you to 100. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, so you're good. Lots of sources out there. All right. Anyway,
Cool.
Sorry. Continue. We have 2 minutes left. Let's do it.
How many points do I have left?
You have 5 points left.
Great. From here, you can take whatever you like. We have achieved minimum spend.
Okay, so why don't we pause there? Let's see once you're fully equipped how some of your melee stats look, and then that'll probably inform where you want to spend the rest of the points.
Yeah, beautiful.
By the way, you named this build file, when will Tonquin make Trickster? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Magic casting rogues are my favorite thing. I remember a little while ago I was having a conversation with Tonquin, and he said that like a illusionist thief might be on the cards. I made a trickster build a little while ago with a deep gnome that used graded color spray, used cut the strings out of Fate Singer, and it was just really fun. I did soloing and stuff, and it took forever to clear a quest, but it was so fun. I had the fear spell. It's like a level 1 spell that you get as a wizard. I was using that on like archers and stuff to make them run around. It was silly. I got to use assassinate, so I would use all the crowd control and then use that to leverage the assassinate ability. And I was also using Phantasmal Killer. They've just recently added weird. They've just recently changed weird so that it's usable by rogues, which I was an amazing change that I was asking for ages. They've added that. I want Trickster in the game. I want to be able to leverage more illusion DCs on top of my assassinate. I would really love it if Weird used your assassinate DC as an option, but you know, I'll live with it being an illusion spell if I can have Trickster with proper assassinate and proper proper spell casting
All right.
in combination.
So we have to stop right on time because this stream butts up against Cozy Bean's stream, which is next. If you haven't followed Cozy yet, you should check out her streams as well. I'll give her a little shout out here. So I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give you an entire 12 minutes to gear this thing.
Hey, so we're gonna put the Dreadstalker cassette in because I don't have to think about it, and that's the best. With Dreadstalker cassette, if you have it, use the raid armor. The raid armor is really good. You want to get the double strike armor, the double strike augment. You want the extra sneak attack dice. You might consider on this build using the tactics on your raid armor, but I think we're going to be G for tactics. I think we're going to be fine. So we take sneak attack. Obviously, we have to be using cloth because we're centered.
Okay, stalker
And
outfit. You want to? So that's hat and cloak too, right? What do you
yeah,
use? What are you using as the helm?
we're just gonna use the Dreadstalker helmet right now. Again, you can use the Dino helm. I really like the Dino helm because it's a really good one to boost. So if you've got 75 Reaper frags burning a hole in your pocket for some reason, the Dino helm is one of the best ones to boost because when you change build and TR, you can use it on a caster, you can use it on a melee, you can use it on a tank, blah blah blah. It's great for everything. So Dino helm, very good.
Yeah,
Goggles is
I agree.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
is the, oh sorry. The Dreadstalker cloak, the one that you get from the very first quest in Isle of Dread, that is the best cloak. The Dino cloak is a bit lackluster. And then goggles, we use
I
the
was just going
Eternal
to add a
Flameguard's
quick
lenses.
note on the helm and mentioning which helm to Reaper boost if you're sitting on Reaper frags and you're going to boost right now. We know level cap's increasing soon, so we're going to get another tier of equipment. I would say Dino Helm has the most chance of still fitting in your gear sets because it's craftable. So if you're gonna
Yep.
augment anything, however, if there's any devs out there who happen to be watching this stream or stumble across it, please, for the love of everything, change the Reaper frag system so that way we get Reaper augments that we can remove later and put in gear, because it's a lot to farm out to not be able to move the bonus to new gear. That's my 2 cents.
Um, Goggles, we're going to use the Eternal Flameguard's lenses. They're from Part 1 TOE. Um,
Quite good. Deadly, quality, deadly, double strike, quality, double strike.
oh,
Really
they're
good.
so good. They're so good.
So really quick, but before I like the stalker outfit. What about the new university stuff? Because the new university sets actually have the insightful double strike on them as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we're probably going to use, we might use a Forbidden Knowledge set here, but the new university sets aren't okay. If you're not going to use the Dino armor, because so you've put the regular Stalker outfit here, but realistically, you should use the Dino armor. and you can't compete with the profane double strike and the sneak attack dice on the Dino armor. So if you can't get a raid group together, you're struggling to do that, then maybe we look at the Vecna set. But honestly, Dreadstalker is pretty unmatched because it gives you helpless damage, which we want. It gives you double strike, which we want. Artifact double strike. It gives you artifact melee power. It gives you artifact sneak dice. These are all things that this build is using. So the Dreadstalker set is bloody good. And if you're going to use a helmet slot, you might as well use a Dino helmet slot because then you've Reaper boosted your Dino helmet.
So looking at this, so you do want the Dino robe. You don't want the Dreadstalker outfit.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, cool. All right, 5 minutes. Let's go. What do we want for our neck?
Okay. That's going to vary. I would actually come back to neck. The decision we have to make now is, do you have boosted gear? And if the answer is yes, does it fit in the Vecna set or does it fit in the Isle of Dread set? If you have lots of melee power boosted gear in the Isle of Dread set, we're doing an Isle of Dread set because more melee power, bigger numbers, you're a better person. Congratulations. If you've got more boosted gear in the Vecna set, then that's where you should go. Right now, let's assume that you have Vecna stuff because it's new and cool, and let's check on the belt of cool double strike. If you've done your 12 days of talking the steps, for this build, I don't mind the artifact belt. But we're gonna say that not everyone's done that. So for right now, we're gonna use I think it's the Buckle of Transformation.
I mean, you do need an artifact, so I'm fine putting the upgraded one in there.
Sure. What is happening with your build?
And so I have to key up my mic whenever I key up my mic if I'm in the equipment screen. Hey, there's the Husky. Somebody marked the bingo card. All right, what do you want to do for rings?
For rings vary a little bit. Again, if you have boosted stuff, have a look at those. Reaper boost on rings is 5 melee power. You can have 2 of them. They stack. It's amazing. My favorite ring in the game right now is from the challenge quests. It's from the 4th challenge quest. I can't remember what it's called. Unbridled Might. It's purple. That one, yeah. Quality strength, insightful shatter, insightful stunning, insightful accuracy. These are cool things. It's good. I like it. Except we have trance. We don't necessarily need this. You can also use the Ring of Power from Slave Lords. Also has quality strength on it. Has insightful armor piercing, which we might like. So I wouldn't take this as well. I would do it instead of. The other option with rings, and this is going to be a really nice one, is we can use the Mind and Matter set. So we'd use Tumbleweed and Legendary Omniscience. And I think for this build we might do that because a lot of people are going to have a whole lot of VOD runes sitting around because it gets run a lot and people don't use the gear from it very much. So this set is going to give us artifacts, PRR, artifact, MRR cap increase, which is really good because we are a monk build. So having 80 MRR is better than having 50.
All right.
And
Gloves?
all of my guildies are going, what did you do with VML? It's gone. Okay, cool. So we now have 1, 2, 3. We have all these remaining slots need to be filled with items from the Vecna set. So I really like there's a pair of gloves from Vecna that give you elemental absorption. So let's take those because you could use the masterwork gloves, but we're not using what do you call it? We're not using assassinate. So those gloves are really good if you're using assassinate, or improved deception is also really
Improved
good.
deception's nice, yeah, because of the sneak attack.
So let's say that this is the best DPS option, just because it's got improved deception on it, and we're not necessarily going to get that anywhere else. So we'll take the Masterwork gloves, but there's a pair of gloves that just have elemental absorption on them as well as part of the same Forbidden Knowledge set, and you could use those instead if you wanted to. For boots, we're going to use this Insightful Strength boots. They're called Steel-Toed boots or something. Or yeah, they've got Insightful Strength and Quality Combat Mastery. They're really, really good for this build. For our neck, we're going to take the one that has Insightful PRR. I want to say it's the Blade Sworn. Blade Mark, yeah, that's the guy. Profane Life Force, bunch of extra HP, Insightful PRR. We can take it so we can do damage, it's great. We've got one more, and here again, just primary selection is, do you have one of these with melee power on it, like boosted with melee power on it? If yes, use bracers. If trinket, use trinket. I think ordinarily that the trinket is a little better because the wrist options for the Forbidden Knowledge set are basically insightful stats that we don't care about. So we're gonna take the trinket. You could take kinda any of the ones from Forbidden Knowledge, so you can put Forbidden Knowledge into the search text, I believe. Also, yeah, the Legendary Severed Tentacle is really cool, and you're going to use it as a swap, so you should get one. And you should get a Legendary Severed Tentacle, and you should have it in your inventory, and you should swap to it to get the cool Psionic Strength boost that doesn't stack with the Kensei thing, but you're not Kensei, you're a Dragonlord. Okay, what do we got for trinkets here in the Forbidden
Alright,
Knowledge?
so we have the skeleton key and the library card.
Okay, remind me what Skeleton Key does?
Open lock, nimble skills, good luck 5, and move silently.
Okay, we're gonna use the library card. But again, if you have one of them boosted, use the boosted one because it's cool. Soundproof is not bad though.
Alright, so we have wrist and weapon left. What are we going for there?
Okay, so wrist, we don't. Oh, we've done this so fast. My brain hurts. We don't have quality deception. We have insightful deception. So let's go weapon first. So weapon, you're gonna use the Labyrinthine Edge or Gold Curse or a Dino Weapon. If you're gonna use a Dino Weapon, you're gonna use a Kukri. Labyrinthine Edge is amazing. Gives you more melee power. Gives you with enhanced blood rage, which is the same as you wrap to do his necklace. Gives you the vulnerability. Gives you salt. Gives you a couple weapon augments.
So we're going to slot that for now. I'm going to let you come back to the rest. And actually, once we're wrapped on the stream here, I'm going to send this build back to you, and then I'll let you flesh this out before I post it to the forums, and that way it's a little bit more polished. But just for the sake of the stream, really quickly, let's finish up. Let's go through the primary filigrees. I think we can get through that pretty fast.
Can you take my filigrees down to 8 on the weapon? So 8 is 100,000 sentient XP. The last 2 filigrees are an extra 110,000 sentient XP. If you aren't maxing, if you don't have max gems, I sort of recommend having 2. It's sort of better to have 2 at 8 than it is to have 1 at 10. Because swapping is good.
My best advice for Sentient XP, in my experience, the Saltmarsh Explorer area is hands down the best scent farm.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I filled 5 gems specifically just with Saltmarsh, so.
Yeah.
All right, but
So
anyway,
like realistically, we want like 3 completely maxed sentient weapons, but we've planned to use Gold Curse and Labyrinthine Edge. So let's say that you've just got 2 at 100k, and then we can go from there.
okay, perfect. What are we putting on them?
In the weapon and in the artifact, we are putting the Raid Strength in rare guy, whatever he's called. Yep, it's the best. Start all of your strength builds this way. Then, if you have rares, we're going to use or even if you don't, we're going to use melee power Dreadbringers. Again, 1 in the artifact, 1 in the weapon. Then we're going to use melee power Treachery. 1 in the artifact, 1 in the weapon. And then in the weapon, we're also going to put threat reduction 50% Treachery. So we spoke about threat reduction before. We want to have threat reduction. Oh,
I'm with you. Keep going.
cool. All right. Tactics Dreadbringer, and then Strength Dreadbringer, and then I have 1 more. I'm going to use Sucker Punch Melee Power Rare. Oh, and I have 1 more in the. Actually, don't use Sucker Punch. We're going to use the Long Shadow Melee Power and Long Shadow Melee Power in the artifact as well. And for this many filigrees, what we've basically done here is we've maximized how much melee power we have from our filigrees.
You have 1 left.
No, you. Oh, I do. Okay, well then do Sucker Punch melee power. The stream is laggy, so it's hard for my brain to.
Yeah, sorry. There's
Not
a little
laggy,
bit of a
it's
delay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the filigrees fleshed out, and that
This is
puts
maximized
us.
for melee power and sneak attack dice, basically.
Let me actually toss you in fire stance, and grab your stances real quick. That's gonna put you at 312 melee power. We're at 88 double strike, and you're at 85 melee threat degen. So that's going to be fixed by that augment. Dark Diversion drops out of Aglarasa, the Temple of the Deathworm, and that'll get you to the 100% negative threat.
Yeah.
We have
If
100%.
you had double strike past lives, you would have 100% double strike here.
We don't have a lot of fort bypass. We're at 15, but again, we didn't go through all the augments. We didn't go through anything on Reaper. We're down to the last 2 minutes. That's about as far as we're going to be able to take the build here. It's pretty respectable. You have about 5 imbue dice, 8 sneak attack dice. VML and I are going to continue to edit this off stream, and then I will post it to the forums. I will tag it in the original post for this build. Just want to take a second, VML. That was a whirlwind. Sorry to do that to you, but I am limited on time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, I'd like to have you on more. Maybe what we'll do next time, or one of the future times, instead of going through an entire build, maybe we'll talk about an aspect of the build and really how you approach maximizing the effectiveness of it. But I mean, this is great. I think he'll be really happy playing through this build. Just
I
thinking if
hope
there's.
that we've been able to I hope it's kind of clear where the wiggle room is and where the solid bones of the build is. That's sort of what I was trying to aim for here. So that people can sort of see where they have space to be creative and where they just really need to maximize so that their build works, so that being creative actually feels fun and rewarding.
So again, a much more detailed breakdown will happen on the forums. Thank you so much for joining us. VML, actually, it was your guild. I've stolen this quote now. I think somebody in your guild coined the term, all of us is smarter than any one of us. something
Classic
along
Ying
those lines.
quote right there.
That's a Ying
None of us
quote.
is as smart as all of us.
Yeah, none of us is as smart as all of us. I love that quote. I think it's absolutely true. One of the most awkward things I think for DDO players to do is to really open up, talk about your build. It's uncomfortable to have that growth space in there, but I think it's really important in the community that we support each other, we build each other up, and are willing to have these conversations. So thank you again for joining me tonight. Once again, I'm Griglock from the DDO Experience, twitch.tv/the DDO Experience. Up next on the DDO stream is going to be Cozy Beans, so if you have an opportunity, stick around to watch that. And if you watch tonight, look for the build on the forums. We'll get that up within the next 24 or 48 hours. Thanks again, and have a great night.